Mr. Luetkemeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just ask a couple of brief questions. I think we're all in agreement here. This is an issue that we're all in agreement on. Yeah, this is a really big problem for small business. As a small business person myself, I've seen our family have to go through this discussion of how we can succeed or pass down businesses from one to the other. I know, Mr. Spoa, you talked a little bit about some of the problems in planning. You had the importance of life insurance in that, but you also made the comment about annual revisions to the plans. It's extremely difficult to try and make a long-term plan on estates with this constant changing of the rules, and every year having to go back and redo this. Can you give us some examples or experiences on the difficulty of doing this and the cost that's involved and trying to go back annually and try and revise this and protect this group this time and that asset this next time, and continually, it's a moving target, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a moving target, and it becomes more difficult, I think, for my children that are taking over the business, because there's 3 of them involved, and they have to worry about the other 2. I really only have to worry about myself up to a certain point until these children decided they wanted to take over and stay in the business. They have to continually plan for each of them. What if something happens to one of them? What happens to the business? So they've had to invest in insurance policies, and the joke is sort of, if anybody's going to die, I better do it next year, because then we can pass on. We don't have to worry about it. but it is a moving target. I mean, you have to sit down with the accountants, you have to sit down with the tax planners, you have to sit down with the attorneys, and you do it every year. I'm not saying
it's a cost that you have to incur, is it not?
Right, it's a cost.
Do you have an idea roughly what your costs are, or what the average cost is for people to comply?
I think I'll go along with what the young lady next to me said. It was around $5,000 a year. We may be a little higher than that. I hesitate to guess without knowing for sure, but it's probably I would say between $5,000 and $10,000 a year.
Ms. Mays, you made the comment about the printing industry is very. It's unlike the cattle industry over here, which you can sell off a number of acres to do this. It's hard to sell your printing press, exactly. To kind of divide that up and throw off this part and that part. I mean, when you buy a huge asset like that, which is probably 50 to 60% of all your assets are all tied up, or your money, your capital is tied up in one asset, it makes it difficult to try and sell off parts in order to be able to keep the whole. Not that farming is not a industry that is easy to accommodate estate taxes. I mean, that's also incumbent on the way you generate cash, but it really causes a problem for the printing industry, does it not?
Yes, it's a very capital expensive industry. I mean, one press is $3 million. We have 3 large presses, and all of the small equipment as well. Everything. It's just very capital intensive industry.
It really affects everybody differently. Like saying with the capital, with the cattle industry here, if you sell off too much land, suddenly it doesn't make your farm productive enough to maintain and be able to stay in business. I would guess, Mr. Earl, is that correct?
Excuse me?
I'm talking about if you have to sell off some of your property, it makes it difficult to try and cash flow your business. You're usually set up so the size of your business is the activities you have on your property is conducive to the size of the total ranch.
Absolutely. A critical mass is absolutely necessary in our business, and when you have to sell off part of your land, that obviously impacts your economic viability.
Right. Ms. Neese, just a real quick one for you. Some of the you're talking about the negative impact on the economic activity. And I thought that was an interesting comment from the standpoint that actually the estate tax is a restraint on economic activity. That's an interesting comment. Can you elaborate on this just a little bit?
Well, I think it is because of, especially if you're a farmer, the infrastructure and the assets, cash assets that you have, it's a detriment to employment, to wages, to revenues, federal revenues, if you look at it as a detriment.
Just expansion in general, I would guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you have to sell off part of your assets yes, you have less, less to leverage if you want to expand or improve your business, I would take it.
Exactly. And one other quick comment from my perspective, in my business, I own a human resources firm in Oklahoma City, and we have spent, we spend anywhere from around $500 to $7,500 a year, and we've been doing that now for 20 years. And the uncertainty is one of the biggest problems. We need permanent fix, and that will help all small business owners. It'll help us create more jobs. It'll be so, the burden that will be released would be a huge one for us.
Thank you for your comments. My time's up. Thank you, Madam Chair.